Hello, it's me Piggy again. I'm going to talk about is time travel. Now, there's a chap called Professor Mallet, and from his experience, I think that touched something in anybody who learns about him. And basically, it was his dad that died at an early age that got him to time travel. This almost reminds me of watching the movie where there's that time travel movie and an event happens. Everybody, I guess we've all had that in our life. You would want to change something. But I guess it's also looking at what the constructs of the universe, basically. What people understand about gravity, they don't see gravity. They see gravity, and they've encapsulated it and named it as one thing. But they haven't really understood the true understanding of what it is. It actually is a waveform energy. So there's two main energies in the universe. You've got your light or your electric form, and then you've got your waveform, and these operate by coming out of certain portals, you could say, in this universe. But there's also a consciousness behind them. So that might say, well, that's a bit far out, but if you believe in God or you believe there's a creative design to it, then that's what that comes from, that source of it. So basically, like signals. Light itself travels through a waveform, so therefore it's never detached from sound. So sound is everywhere in this universe. What people understand, what modern science understands, basically, is based on its senses. Science is all based around what you can sense and you can perceive, which is great. You can say, look, here we go, here's an object, but you can't say what it's constructed or how it's constructed, and then understand the design of it and the thinking behind it and everything else. You're just kind of really replicating something. In the same way as that you could put an insect apart and explain how different features work on it, but you can't remake the insect. When you've done that, you've killed it, basically. You could probably clone it, but it's impossible to destroy it. Anyway, you could go back to time travel and go into something completely different. So there's different forms. Basically, there's wave and there's light, and then there's a consciousness to it. I think if he wants to manipulate gravity and what they call space-time, I think there's space-time consciousness. There's always a thinking process behind the construct of space, why it expands. There's always going to be a why reason. Things just happen for the sake of it. So basically, there's probably different ways. I think experimenting with harmonics, probably frequencies well off our scale of hearing, but if they can manipulate matter, then you might be able to manipulate what's known by the time continuum. Another, for his kind of what he's looking to do, basically make contact with his father, or maybe prevent it. There may be a way to take his father from the past into the future. That way he hasn't interfered with the past, because in the past his dad died. Or, as a result of moving him from that one space to another, that's why he physically died there, and that we've actually transported him into the future. So, because the thing is about a consciousness, like a computer program, it corrects and rebalances the universe. Otherwise, you could tear the whole thing apart, basically. And if you understand how a computer works, if you do something that you can't do, you might get to a point where it actually crashes. And so the whole universe as we know it to crash. The whole dimension collapse on itself. It'll be almost like another big bang of some kind. Is that? I guess to look at the energy side of it, like the electric and light as well. Currently they're looking at gravity as separate, but actually I think the only way you can make gravity is probably with sound. I think, as I mentioned, so there's a way possibly to bring it back from the past to the future. The other thing about all things material or living have a frequency about them. Now that's probably way off most science at the moment, is that can you track the frequency of DNA, and if so, could you use it to recreate a person sort of as a hologram, or as a way to actually use that frequency would actually tap into the consciousness? Because while you physically exist, if your body dies, your consciousness still exists. You're still a part of a program that exists. If you kind of think of it in a matrix form, or that was like a simulation of some kind, and that we're connected to a power source, that is the power source of our intelligence, or the program to it, the frequency behind things. The method is like the wave is the carrier, and and with light is the construct. So you know, you can construct something using these kind of basic building blocks. So if there's a way to basically use someone's frequency, I mean, there's going to be keys within someone's DNA because you're conscious, because you exist. That's the simply a reason there's going to be connections to that. If there's a way to mimic that, then you've got potentially a hologram. It might be a way to do a quantum computer or something. You might actually be able to imagine that to load somebody up from history, load up their mind. I mean, for them, all they might have thought they've done is gone off and had a dream. You know, when you go off and dream, where do you go? So their consciousness hasn't interfered with their body, and so therefore you haven't disrupted the time continuum in any sort of way. So yeah, I mean, basically there's sort of one way of doing it is basically tapping into the consciousness of the person. I mean, but basically by existing, you know they exist, and that they've existed before in time, and they're also going to exist in the future because the program's not going to be wiped out or written off. However, your form might change, and maybe you kind of the dimension the program's within. So that really depends how you live your life this life. I mean, other possible ways of manipulating the space-time would be in the planet, because as I mentioned, there's portals. Now, I mean, the sun's an electric portal. You get blasted a load of energy out here. It charges everything up, and it basically feeds the planet. The planet, however, has a waveform in there. So there's going to be like a black hole. It's condensing in energy, but the electric side of it is actually maintaining its equilibrium, so it doesn't collapse in on itself. Basically, all atoms and run on the same principle to it. I mean, the difference is the scale. Basically, I wouldn't be able to physically enter an atom because I'd have to get smaller than an atom. But inside the core of the planet, something of that foot up with a dark matter type portal is going to be large enough and easy for me to fit into it. However, I mean, you go in and then you'd have to go back in time, so that might involve harmonics within the thing. You may be torn to bits in the process. As long as you've got your, like I mentioned before, the signal that's your being, then you could possibly reanimate yourself in some form. It may be that you're actually recreated into another reality or another dimension, a multiverse or something like that. So by entering a portal, changing it, the harmonics, and coming back out of it, we can come in at a different point in time. So that's that kind of theory. I mean, you mentioned about the computer one. It's basically downloading a consciousness, because while you're here, your mind's still attached to everything in the universe. There's no detachment. There's no separation either. I mean, yeah, I'm going to fire some thoughts this way and see what he says. I mean, this is sort of more the theoreticals and esoteric type sciences, but stuff that I've been studying, and also other stuff from my other videos that I touched upon would also interconnect with that, so that's fine. Anyway, good day, and see you soon.